evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Andrea Sherwood and I'm the chairman, and Todd Fogarty is the timekeeper. The adjudicator is Miss Harana. The topic for the debate is that dumpster diving should be discouraged. The affirmative team seated to my right is from Aberfoyle Park, and the negative team seated to my left is from Westminster School. The speaking time for this debate is 5 minutes. A single warning bell will sound 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound at the speaking time. A continuous bell may be rung 30 seconds after the speaking time, in which case the speaker must sit down immediately. Please ensure that your mobile phones and other electronic devices are switched off. I declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Susanna O'Dell.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman. This evening's debate is that dumpster diving should be discouraged. We, the affirmative team, believe the statement. We define dumpster diving as unauthorised searching through dumpsters or rubbish containers of a similar type for food or items of value. Discouraged, meaning highly recommended against. However, we acknowledge that this doesn't mean banned. As first speaker tonight, I'll be talking to you about how dumpster diving is a health violation and how this fits into the law. Our second speaker will be talking to you about the economic aspects and the alternatives to dumpster diving. Our third speaker will refute the opposition's arguments and summarise our team case. Why do we throw things in the bin? Is it because it's no longer safe, or we're not able to use it? When companies throw things out, it is for a reason. According to MAC Cosmetics, they are forced to throw out any expired products. Out-of-date moisturisers, eye cream, makeup, and others can cause irritation and infection. We don't want people going dumpster diving to witness these effects. This doesn't only work in the beauty industry, but also in the food. According to foodstandards.gov, companies aren't allowed to sell out-of-date products, as it can harm the consumer. Therefore, bin products are deemed unusable or unsafe. There is also the possibility of injury. When opening up the lid to the dumpster, you would find that it's quite heavy. There is the possibility of dropping it, crushing your fingers, or going inside, hitting the side of the wall, and it falling on you, possibly trapping you. You never know what can be thrown inside of a dumpster. There could be sharps, like glass, knives and needles, which you can get cut on the way inside. This in itself is bad being cut, but also with the mass amount of bacteria in the bin, it can possibly cause infection. According to ncbi.gov, dumpsters are a breeding ground for bacteria. Bacteria give off toxins which can damage tissue, and it could also make you sick. Not only are they filled with bacteria, but they're also sprayed with pesticides, which can also cause illness. We don't want people to get sick. We would like to reduce this risk. Health risks outweigh any other benefits, therefore should be discouraged. Not only is it a hindrance to your health, there are also legal aspects at play. According to GES attorneys, a dumpster diver could be charged with trespassing and/or theft. Most dumpsters are on private property, meaning that they have to have permission there to be able to use it. Without that, the owner of the property is allowed to take them to court for trespassing without permission. If the dumpster diver finds something that they deem valuable and decides to take it home, this can also be considered theft. Although the items are in the bin, it is still considered the property of the person who owns the property. Dumpsters should be discouraged as there is a risk to be taken to court. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman, dumpster diving should be discouraged. It is a hindrance to our health, and there is the possibility of going to court. Thank you.
I call upon the first negative speaker, Emma Deering.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that dumpster diving should be discouraged. Ladies and gentlemen, We propose to debate dynamically that dumpster diving should be encouraged in society, and the debate topic is false. Our team case will build your understanding and evidence that dumpster diving is an effective way of utilising food resources and addressing food inequality, and highlight the economic and environmental benefits for society from dumpster diving. While we agree with the affirmative team's definition of discourage, we define the term dumpster diving as the act of searching through a waste collection bin or container that is in an open, easily accessible area in a public place for food or any reusable item which has been discarded. Today, as first speaker, I will be talking to you about the impact of the discouraging of dumpster diving on the environment, food insecure families, and the economic benefit that is given to those who partake in this activity. Our second speaker will be talking to you about how selling items from dumpsters can be a hobby for many. It can be a rewarding business, and about how dumpster diving can help to support many people and charities. Our third speaker will rebut and sum up our team case. Before I continue my team's case, I will rebut the points of the opposition's first speaker. The first affirmative speaker has already tried to tell you that there is danger going into dumpsters. We see dumpster diving as a symptom of a society that doesn't look after its most vulnerable people. So while dumpster diving for food and other products may be not ideal and possibly dangerous, when people have no other choice to survive, dumpster diving is the best option for them. She also tried to tell you that people still want items in the dumpster after they have thrown them away. This is wrong because under a Supreme Court ruling in 1988, when a person throws something away, the item is now in the public domain and no longer belongs to the original owner. And now to my points. Dumpster diving is an effective way of utilising food resources and addressing food inequality and wastage at no cost. Food insecurity is incredibly high in our society, with 3.6 million Australians going hungry each day, including 1 in 5 children. According to a report by SBS in 2018, there are many reasons for this, such as the lack of affordable housing, low wages, and the high cost of healthcare. An increasing number of families struggle to keep up to date with bills, and many parents go to bed with no food themselves so that their children can eat something. Dumpster diving is a resourceful way that people in these difficult circumstances can access nutritious food at no cost. According to OzHarvest, globally, the world wastes a third of all of the food that is produced. An article in The Guardian also reported that 37% of the food that ends up in landfill comes from supermarkets, and this passes through dumpsters every day. Most of this food is perfectly good food for human consumption, but is left in dumpsters and will go to waste anyway. According to American food environmentalist Rob Greenfield, who is an activist for minimising the amount of food waste, best before and expiration dates are one of the main reasons why food is thrown away into dumpsters. Companies create these dates to ensure peak freshness and to protect themselves against potential lawsuits. Except for perishables such as milk and meat, all of this food is still fresh and edible for much longer than the arbitrary date that it is given. While travelling across the United States, Mr. Greenfield decided to see what was in the dumpsters in each city. He talked in a TED Talk that he found approximately $15,000 worth of food that could safely feed hundreds of food insecure families. Mr. Greenfield also found that when he removed the stigma of dumpster diving by encouraging people to access this food, hundreds of people willingly took advantage of this food source. By encouraging people to go into the dumpsters to produce this food, hundreds of families would have access to nutritious, healthy food for no cost. And now to my second point. Encouraging dumpster diving and better utilising the resources within dumpsters can save a significant amount of money and have a beneficial impact on the environment. According to OzHarvest, the world recklessly discards 1.3 billion tonnes of food every year. The economy suffers greatly from this massive amount of food waste, as $940 billion is squandered from the economy. It is also not only the food that is wasted, it is the land, the water, the fossil fuels, and the labour that was used to produce this food is all wasted. There is also a major amount of CO2 that is released into the environment when food is wasted. 8% of greenhouse gases is created by the heating of food waste when decomposing. By eliminating food waste, this would save 4.4 million tonnes of CO2 being released into our atmosphere, and this is the same as removing 1 in 4 cars off our roads. By encouraging dumpster diving so that the resources within are better utilised, we would drastically lower the amount of CO2 released into our environment, which is hurting our gradually warming planet. So it is not only individuals that can benefit from dumpster diving. There is a significant global economic and environmental benefit from this source of food. And so, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we the Negative team most definitely believe that dumpster diving should be encouraged, not discouraged. Thank you.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, Naya Ravindra.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman. Tonight's debate topic states that dumpster diving should be discouraged, and we as the affirmative team without a doubt agree with this statement. I'd like to start by refuting some of the opposition's arguments. The first speaker of the negative team has tried to tell you that dumpster diving is the best option when you can't afford food. We agree that food hunger is a major issue that our world is facing today, but we should never resort to dumpster diving because there are far more safer options for food, such as food banks that are willing to help you. And the first speaker also, as my first speaker also stated, not all the food in the bins are safe. Thus, if people ate them, they would get sick, and this outweighs the benefits people would get from dumpster diving. My first speaker has already talked about how dumpster diving should be discouraged as it causes serious health damages, and she talked about the legal responsibilities of dumpster diving. In tonight's debate, I'll be talking about how it is not an effective way of reducing waste and how dumpster diving will affect businesses. My first argument is about how dumpster diving should be discouraged as it is not an effective means of reducing waste from suppliers. The opposition has told you that we should encourage dumpster diving as people are often picking up good food and products that's been thrown out by big retailers and how these people are reducing food waste. Yes, that might be true, but ladies and gentlemen, instead of relying on the people to go through bins to find out if food is edible or not, which my first speaker has already established as an unsafe practice, we should instead be relying on the businesses themselves to properly do their job and to not throw out the good food and to regulate their products. We shouldn't be relying on the general public to solve this big issue. Thus, by discouraging bin diving, we can encourage these companies to set up more effective waste management systems within their businesses. We can encourage them to think of alternatives to better regulate their products instead of throwing them away. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? A lot of these companies are already doing that, and they're still able to gain profits. Many food retailers, including Coles, Woolworths and Foodland, drastically cut down the value of a product a few days before its shelf life is over. This would ensure that the product sells faster and that the companies are still able to make some income. And it's not just food retailers who are willing to do this. Big clothing companies like the Cotton On Group, H&M, all have their own ways of handling excess products. Cotton On Group website states that they cut down the price of their clothes by 75% of the original value to make their clothes sell faster. H&M also does this, and if their clothes don't sell after the big discount, they send it back to their warehouse where they can reuse the materials to create other products. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, this just shows you how we're able to reduce food waste more effectively and safely by discouraging dumpster diving and encouraging effective waste management systems. My second argument is about how dumpster diving will have a negative impact on the businesses. As my first speaker has explained, there is an unclear legal precedent for where legal responsibilities lie in regards to dumpster diving. These implications could have an effect on the financial viability for retailers, because if a bin diver was to successfully sue the company for injury or infection caused by their products, or an accident such as the lid falling onto them, they could sue the company. And due to the increased risk of litigation, insurance premiums would have to increase. Thus, the businesses would have to pay more money. Further, the businesses would have to install solutions to prevent dumpster diving, such as gates and locks, and all these solutions cost a lot of money. Overall, there are increased costs to businesses to make sure that dumpster diving is safe. Therefore, it should be discouraged. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman, dumpster diving should be discouraged, as it is not an effective means of reducing waste, and also because it has a negative impact on the businesses. Thank you.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Matthias McCarthy.
Good evening, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Topic for tonight's debate is that dumpster diving should be discouraged. We, the negative team, strongly believe that this statement is false. As our first speaker, has already told you about the impact of discouraging dumpster diving on the environment and food insecure families, and the economical benefits it creates for those who partake in it. As second speaker, I'll be discussing how dumpster diving is a hobby for many, how dumpster diving can be a rewarding business, and how it can help support many charities and the economy. Our third speaker will rebut some of our team's case. Before I begin my points, I'll rebut some of the points put forward by the opposition. The second affirmative speaker tried to tell you that there is an unclear legal precedent to dumpster diving. However, this is wrong, because according to a YouTube clip titled "Is Dumpster Diving Legal in Australia?", dumpster diving is illegal only in privately owned areas. However, in any other area, it is fine. So if people were to get hurt in a dumpster owned by a store, they are searching the bin illegally anyway. They are only allowed to search through public dumpsters. Now to my first point. Dumpster diving should not be discouraged. Why? Well, it is a growing hobby amongst many people, including the financially clever, and can satisfy human needs from hunger and thirst to curiosity and creativity, to gain furniture, electricity, and much more. Dumpster diving means you're consuming items that would otherwise be wasted, so the environment will certainly appreciate you for it. In the face of global hunger, climate change, and the strain on natural resources, it seems ridiculous to discourage people for utilising what would otherwise go to waste. In an article titled "My Cheapest Hobby, Dumpster Diving," published in www.livingthefrugallife.com, dumpster diving is done for all sorts of reasons. The motivations for it include it simply being a form of entertainment and a hobby. For many, it's just something interesting to do. These people aren't doing any harm to anyone. In fact, They are helping the environment. So as long as they are dumpster diving in legal areas, why discourage them? Who are we to judge others on a hobby they enjoy doing? They say that one man's trash is another man's treasure, which brings me to my second point. Dumpster diving can be a rewarding business, so why discourage it? Our society has become so wasteful with what is quite often perfectly working goods that it is possible to get new and high value items from bins that allow you to make a high profit from it and make a considerable financial gain. In a blog titled Dumpster Diving, More Than a Hobby, the writer, Josh Matheson, mentions a professional junk collector that takes the things he picks from trash and flips them for profits. This professional junk collector has been able to make a living for himself, filtering through the junk that other people didn't want. His name is Mike Malone, a security specialist by day and professional dumpster diver by night. Mike estimates that he can easily earn 6 figures by selling the trash he finds whilst dumpster diving. Why discourage someone that is not just helping the environment, but putting legal money into people's pockets? Now to my third point. A great deal of these so-called wasted items are in fact donated to charities, which is clearly a good thing. As our first speaker has already discussed, globally the world wastes a third of all of the food that is produced. Charitable organisations could definitely use some of the food and items that go uneaten and wasted. Dumpster divers can take this opportunity to scavenge their trash and give back to those who really need it in the form of donations. In an article titled Dumpster Diving, a hobby that helps to combat food waste, Theo Greenhall from Denmark claims that he merely tries to save perfectly good food from the trash. As he says, I simply cannot stand by if good food is thrown away, only because there is a tiny dent in it or is nearing its expiry date, especially when I look around and see how many people are struggling to get by. He is not doing it for himself. He is a preacher in a local church and he takes 2 full crates with him to service on Sunday for those who are unable to provide their own needs. He dumpster dives to donate to those less fortunate than himself. By encouraging dumpster diving, there will be even more donations to charities, which will help everyone. In conclusion, we the Negative team most definitely believe that dumpster diving should not be discouraged. Dumpster diving is a hobby for many people. It can be a rewarding business and can help support many charities as well. Dumpster diving can clearly be very beneficial for many reasons. So why would we discourage it? Thank you.
I now call upon the third affirmative speaker, Rhiannon Scott.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that dumpster diving should be discouraged. We, as the Affirmative team, could not agree with this statement more for the points already discussed by my team members. As a third affirmative speaker, I would like to summarise our team case. However, first I will be rebutting some of the negative team's arguments. The first negative speaker has tried to tell you that dumpster diving can help low-income families and disadvantaged people like the homeless. However, We believe this is wrong because, as we've already discussed, we need to not encourage the unsafe habit of dumpster diving and instead try to redirect companies to be more compassionate and donate their food or items they deem to be not good enough for shelves to food banks and homeless shelters, which is for the greater good. This again comes down to the fact that companies need to be held more responsible for their waste. It's much safer for people on low income or homeless to get their food from a reliable source rather than somebody else's trash. This could also pose the threat of them getting sick, which will put them under even greater financial stress if they need to pay for healthcare. She has also tried to tell you that it could reduce waste and help the environment. However, we believe this is false because they may be taking away rubbish from landfill. However, the local impacts could be detrimental as the dumpster divers would, as digging through the bin, have little regard for putting waste back in the bins, meaning it could be strewn all over our precious communities. Not only this, but as our second speaker stated, there are much more effective and environmentally friendly ways that we can responsibly discard of our waste. Instead of encouraging the unsafe practice of dumpster diving, we should put more responsibility on the companies and enforce harsher laws. Not only this, but if we decide not to discourage waste because of the possible not to discourage dumpster diving because of the possible reduction in waste, we're essentially giving companies more incentive to be irresponsible with their disposing habits, perhaps enhancing the problem rather than reducing it. The second negative speaker has then tried to tell you that dumpster diving is a good hobby. However, as we've already discussed, it's dangerous and affects many people negatively, like businesses and the economy. We should not encourage this negative hobby and instead encourage things that directly help our community. He's also tried to tell you that most food is donated to charity. However, most of the time it's only for self-gain for people who don't want to pay. As mentioned before, we should encourage businesses to be more responsible with waste and get them to donate directly rather than risking donating thrown out items. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair, we as the Affirmative team without a doubt believe that dumpster diving should be discouraged. Our first speaker, Brianna, has argued this point by pointing out the obvious health risks dumpster diving could pose, including the possibility of dangerous items in the bins, how unsanitary they are, and the dangers that going out at night to engage in dumpster diving could have. She has also discussed the legal perspective of this and the personal implications that getting caught trespassing could have. Our second speaker, Neha, then spoke about the economic factors that dumpster diving would have, including the fact that it could lower the value of items and stop people from entering the shops, as well as expanding on the legal factors brought up by our first speaker, discussing how insurance would go up. For all of these reasons combined, we think that it's undeniable that dumpster diving should be discouraged for the safety of the business, the customers, and the dumpster divers. Thank you.
I call upon the third negative speaker, Veda Massanini.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that dumpster diving should be discouraged. We, the negative team, unequivocally believe that this statement is false. Now I'll start my rebuttals. The first affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that dumpster diving is illegal. Dumpster diving is not illegal when the dumpster is placed on public land, and we have defined dumpster diving in this debate as being on public land. The laws against dumpster diving aren't certain, and they can even vary between councils, as stated by HuffPost Australia. Also, would you really call it stealing when the original owner discarded of the item anyway? It should be more considered a way to lower food waste and sustain the environment. As our first speaker stated, 1/3 of the food produced gets thrown away or wasted. In fact, dumpster divers are actually doing the world a favour because they are cleaning up after us and recycling the amount of waste that goes to landfill. New statistics and surveys have even found that the average person will throw away around about 35 kilograms of clothing per year. All those materials, textiles and effort just go to waste like they mean nothing. Whereas, if dumpster divers are permitted to take what they need, then these items can again be recycled. The first affirmative speaker has also tried to tell you that there's danger with dumpster diving. There is no confirmation that every dumpster will contain a dangerous good. But if they do, then it's the dumpster diver's responsibility to wear the appropriate clothing and gloves so they don't get hurt. But this is not a reason to discourage it. Also, by law, medical sharps must be disposed of properly and in a certain way, and therefore cannot be tossed in a dumpster for someone to get harm, or used for harm. She has also said that dumpster diving is unhygienic and irresponsible, but there is a flaw to the statement, because people don't always dumpster dive for food as common stereotype may suggest. It can be for anything, from clothing to furniture to beauty products. Also, most people dumpster dive because they live in poverty, and that is the only way that they can get through their hardships. For example, if you are hungry and cold and living on the streets, wouldn't you rather get some supplies out of a dumpster and make your life somewhat more comfortable? Even with food, for example a banana or packaged food, they're still edible no matter how unhygienic the dumpster was, because they're protected. The second affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that dumpster diving will cause an economical decline. But this statement is false. Firstly, the main reason that businesses don't want dumpster divers is not because the activity is illegal, it's not because they're trespassing, but because they don't get any money from the people collecting their discarded items. But really, they shouldn't be getting paid without selling anything, and the dumpster diver is the one getting rid of their waste. Every day, are we getting paid for discarding our rubbish by the council, or do we pay the council to discard our wastage? The second affirmative speaker has also tried to tell you that there are better ways for food to be distributed and accessed. However, we don't live in a society where big companies make things accessible to all people. Many people only have $30 for groceries and cannot feed the entire family, forcing them to use dumpsters. She has also attempted to tell you that dumpster diving isn't effective. But as our first speaker already stated, 37% of food goes to landfill, $940 billion gets squandered from the economy, and dumpster divers are recovering this. More waste means more CO2 emissions and more environmental issues. Eliminating food wastage saves 4.4 million tonnes of CO2, as stated by our first speaker, which is the same as the amount of carbon dioxide produced by 1 out of 4 cars. She has also tried to tell you that about food bank, but they don't have everything, and dumpster divers actually help charities such as Food Bank acquire the amount of food that they need. So should we be discouraging someone that actually supports charities? The third affirmative speaker has attempted to tell you that businesses need to change. Many people need food today and cannot wait for companies to change in the future, and we need a society that can help everyone, and unfortunately we can't just wait for this to happen. Our first speaker emphasised that dumpster diving is an effective way of reusing food resources, and she addressed food inequality, saying if we discourage dumpster diving, food insecure families are disadvantaged. She offered many environmental benefits of dumpster diving and gave the example of Bob Greenfield, who fed hundreds of people at no cost. Why would we discourage that? Our second speaker reinforced that dumpster diving is a hobby for many and recycles unused items which have been discarded. Who are we to tell others what they should and shouldn't do? One man's trash is another man's treasure, and this is able to be used for financial gain. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we the negative team that far from being discouraged, dumpster diving should be encouraged. Thank you.